Hey folks, welcome to Guitar Daily. So my name's Nick Granville. This is a daily thing I do on YouTube, is doing these videos. We just finished playing at the Wellington Jazz Club. That's why I've got this kind of get up on. Had a fun gig there. I live streamed it on this channel. Just thought, what the heck? I just threw my phone up in a corner and kind of went, oh well, it's going to be what it's going to be. So hopefully you heard that, and hopefully everything came through clearly. Today I thought I'd talk about and kind of share some stuff about being a session musician and what that even means. I think the days of session stuff is not what it used to be. There is still a little bit of work around with this stuff, but it's not nearly as much as it used to be. When I started doing this, we had 2 sessions a week, and they were doing all kinds of stuff from jingles to TV shows to just recording guitar parts and stuff. And nowadays there's, if there's one a week, I'm doing good. And I do probably the lion's share of it around this town. It seems to be that way. But a combination of doing sessions plus some gigs and a little bit of teaching seems to be a good balanced lifestyle for me, and I enjoy the 3 things that I do. So the fact that I'm not doing as many sessions as I used to is totally fine, because I've got enough stuff on. So anyway, I thought I'd talk about it, like some key things. The first thing I talk about that you should do is you've got to have the first thing I talk about is you've got to have certain skills, or people aren't gonna employ you for doing stuff. There's this myth about session musicians that you need to be able to sight read anything, and you're not allowed to ever make a mistake and all that kind of stuff. That's not the truth at all, right? I know lots of great session musicians who don't really read very well. It's not part of what they do, and they're still really great at doing sessions, you know what I mean? But I would say reading is a big one, because the thing is, if you can read, it speeds the whole process up, and you've got more options, you've got more gigs, right? I've always been someone who's read. I wouldn't say I'm a gun reader, although other people do say that about me, but I when I compare myself to, say, a saxophone player or a piano player, I feel like my reading's crap. But compared to most guitar players, I guess I'm pretty good at that particular skill. Now, the reason I'd urge you to do that if you want to get into doing session work is that it just speeds up the process. For me, if I'm booking various musicians and they can't read, I generally, unless it's a blues gig or a funk kind of thing or something like that, I won't bother, just because it takes too long. Things have to work quickly. So that's why I read it, right? Most of my stuff when I'm doing sessions is involving reading of some sort. Now, most of the time I usually get the music in advance. It's not like people put it in front of you and they go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're in at crazy tempo. It's like usually you get it, you get a second to look at it, a few minutes to look at it, or you get it the day before or whatever, But that's the thing. So learning to read would be one I'd suggest. Another thing that's really good if you want to get into doing session stuff is, I'd say, playing in a covers band. Because you'll play a lot of different music, and especially a lot of pop and rock and stuff like that, and some music that you might not have played otherwise, right? Things like Long Train Running. Every covers band does that. Superstitious. There's a heap of tunes like that all covers bands do. And the thing is, when you play in those bands and you do that music, it becomes part of your psyche, and then you go into the studio or someone books you for a session and they say, we want this kind of flavor or that kind of flavor. I had a session not too long ago where I was doing some Tina Turner stuff, and of course there was Proud Mary in this medley and all these songs like this that I've played heaps, right? Because they're standards that covers bands play. Playing in a covers band is a good thing, and also playing in a jazz group of some sort. You don't necessarily have to, but I think that's a benefit if you can play some jazz stuff, because it means you can improvise. And most of the time when I do sessions, it's really more about improvising than anything else. They want me to come up with parts. I remember one time, one keyboard player I worked with, really great guy. He pretty much wrote everything that you hear on New Zealand TV here, and I did a lot of sessions for him back in the day. He said to me, he said to me, I don't need you to do parts that I can already do on my keyboard. He said, I want you to come and bring something to the table. right? And I remember doing a session for him once, and he said to me, "Can you play some Jeff Beck type stuff?" Right? This is actually not what he wanted. I played every Jeff Beck thing known to mankind that I knew, and it wasn't what he was looking for at all. What he meant was he wanted some bluesy type stuff. And I remember that session because it ended up going. That was the lick I played with a little bit of overdrive, not this kind of tone, but that was the basic gist of it. But he took that as Jeff Beck, right? And the fact I knew Jeff Beck and I knew kind of could get to what he wanted was a big thing, knowing some Jimmy Page, all kinds of stuff like that. So playing in a covers band is one I'd suggest as well. So, and I think one of the best things you can do if you want to be a session musician is listen to a lot of music. I listen to heaps of music, and I used to feel a bit guilty about it. I used to be like, I should be practicing and not just listening. No, now I don't. Now I make a point of going, I'm going to actively listen to music, right? And that becomes a really valuable thing because that imprints in your mind. So if somebody asks you for a certain thing, you know it, right? But the thing maybe nowadays too, I would say an important skill to have if you want to be a session musician is to, on any instrument, but particularly guitar, is learn a DAW, digital audio workstation. Preferably here it would be Logic. Pro Tools is pretty much an industry standard for studios, but every composer I've ever worked with, they all use Logic. So for me, it was like I was going to learn Logic, right? Because then they can give me a file, I can put it straight on my computer, and boom, I'm ready to go. And I have done that on film scores and stuff like that. And I record my parts, and I may have even done some where, I've just done round-the-clock days and just churned out all these parts, burnt it to a CD, this is back in the day, and then gone and driven it round to somebody's house and put it in their letterbox. Now you just upload it online or whatever, but... so learn a DAW would be a really good one if you want to get into doing this sort of stuff. But don't be disappointed if you find that there's just not as much work as you thought. The days of like the Steve Lukather's and the Larry Carltons and the Lee Ritenours who were in the studio three albums a day type stuff, those days aren't around anymore. But there is still work around, and there can be all kinds of things that you can do as a session musician, if you will. You could be just like playing on your mate's albums. Well, that's cool. Do that. One skill above all else, I'd say is the most important one to have when it comes to doing sessions. And I'd say really great timing, bar none. Because what you'll find is when you get in the studio, if they give you a part to do, if you're a little bit late or a little bit early or just sloppy with your rhythm and doesn't feel good, it's not going to cut it, all right? So they'll make you do it again, and then again and again until you get it right, or they'll edit the heck out of it, and you probably won't get called back again because you've just wasted everyone's time. So one of the big ones is just having a good timing, not necessarily good time, because time is like like say we're in 4/4 sense of time, but that's important too. But more important is how accurate can you be with your timing. That's a big one. And that's something that I see a lot of players really struggle with. Their timing is all over the place, and then they wonder why they don't going to get called back. Anyway, I hope this has been useful. It's just kind of some thoughts on, what it is to be a session musician in 2024. The world's a different place now, but there is still some stuff around. I've still got enough work on. Would I like to be doing more? Yes. But I'm happy. Everything's good. I've got enough of combined with sessions and gigs and a little bit of teaching, and life's good. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you've found this useful. If you have, please subscribe or share it with people who are into this. If you know someone who's wanting to do this sort of stuff, then let them know about this video, because that's really useful too. But subscribing and like the video, all that stuff really helps. So I'll play out on something. There was a little soul thing I played in the intro, so maybe I'll play something. I'll play something bluesy. I'll play one of my tunes actually. Why don't I play a tune of mine called New Orleans on a Long Lead? Thanks for watching.